parts. But of course, if there is a lot of money and that could be spent in development and designing hardware, this can and will be done, yes. But this is not the work of the community project that we have here.
Okay, could this be done through plugins, for example, hardware-specific plugins?
Sure. There is a plugin interface that it could be done. If you have a homogeneous hardware infrastructure, then a lot of things are possible. Bruno Randolph, he implemented a mobile mesh for the 4G access cube, which is now no longer available, and he implemented measuring signal-to-noise ratio because he had a homogeneous hardware and he could use this as a metric. But he learned that the signal-to-noise ratio is, you can have a link with a very good signal-to-noise ratio and no bandwidth at all. Because if there's a lot of interference from adjacent nodes, then this doesn't help much. So ETX is not the one and only metric forever, but it's a good way at the step of evolution where we are now, and in the situation that we have to deal with different heterogeneous hardware platforms.
Hi, Electra. You've spoken about 0.4.10. I'm just wondering what's a bit further in your roadmap and your ideas for the protocol?
Well, with 0.5, we're going to kick out all those legacy stuff that came from the RFC. There's no need to maintain all those code lines that were meant to provide hysteresis and all this other stuff that we switched off long ago. And we are going to head further to new developments. The first thing is, yes, multiple interfaces, coordinating transmissions on different channels, different frequencies, avoiding collisions. This is on my roadmap. And for the Berlin mesh, we will see how far we can scale the proactive protocol in Berlin and then start switching to subnetworks. We can no longer handle everything in one subnet. This is, of course, fascinating. We will go to the limit, and then we'll switch to subnetworks. And as the network is growing at a very high pace, we will have to do that switch really soon. I expect it in spring. More questions?
I'd like to know what kind of latency you can expect in such a network. If you have to route a package across maybe 10 nodes, isn't it a huge problem, the latency?
I assume you did a ping before on a machine with a wireless link, and as the wireless link got weaker, you saw the increasing of the round trip time. The reason is not that the packages take longer time to travel because the signal-to-noise ratio is worse. The cards internally, they do retransmissions. And so the increase comes from the necessity to retransmit packages until they come successfully through. If you have reasonable links, then the latency is not so high. If you measure round trip time with ICMP to the first node, you have 3 milliseconds. If the link from the first node to the second node is good, the same quality, you have 6 milliseconds round trip time to the next node, and so on and so on. So as long as the links work, even if you have 10 hops and the nodes are not completely saturated and running out of CPU power, the latency is maybe 40 milliseconds. I was developing and working on voice over IP solutions in Bangladesh, where we had a VSAT link for voice over IP. Everybody says, yeah, well, voice over IP, it is not usable anymore if you have more than 100 milliseconds latency, but I learned that you can live with 700 or 800 milliseconds. But in a mesh network itself, yeah, you will have 40 milliseconds, maybe 50 or 60. And if it gets worse, then you have so much packet loss that the voice over IP starts sounding really odd. Voice over IP is on the agenda as well for the next year. So doing phone calls within the mesh and have voice over IP gateways and coordinating them. This is, of course, a thing that we are going to address this year. Okay? There's no limit. This is the last session. And I have enough to drink.
Do you change the packet size in any kind, or 1500 all the time? Or
No. If you set up a wireless interface for a mesh network, there are a few basic settings that you have to choose. Amongst these, you have to use fragmentation, small packet size, and you have, of course, to use the request to send, clear to scan mechanism, and you have to use very conservative values. Otherwise, it will not perform, because hidden nodes are the default in the mesh, because that's what mesh is meant for. And you have lots of interference, especially if you only use one channel. So it's a must.
I have a question about if you said that there's going to be lots of TC messages, and as far as I remember, there's basically the messages get combined, so a UDP packet becomes quite big actually. So if you send big packets all the time, very often to the neighboring nodes, only radius 1,
Well,
then the frequency also gets clocked, right, or not? Or did I understand something wrong?
yeah, well, the fisheye extension, it's possible that we may have to change some things. The aggregation of messages, yes, it has to be checked again.
The other question is, like, what help is needed for developing?
Pardon?
What help is needed for developing?
Oh, well, if people that write nice code want to jump on the train, that would be lovely. I'm basically not a good coder, and most of the coding work, especially in ETX, was done by Thomas Lepatik, and he's at the moment very busy. So if more people are like to get involved with it, that would be lovely. Okay, well, I can close my laptop now. Thank you.